They say every life has one decision that changes its direction forever. But sometimes, the decision you call smart is the one that quietly breaks you. I know because I made one. This is the story of how the smartest decision of my life almost destroyed me, and why I'm grateful it did. A year ago, I was living what many would call a good life. A stable job with a steady paycheck. A clean, minimalist apartment in a decent part of town. A predictable routine that ran like clockwork. Wake up at 7. Coffee at 7:15. Work by 8. Home by 6. Dinner, screen time, sleep, repeat. I wasn't unhappy, not really. But I wasn't anything. I was just existing. A ghost in my own life. I'd find myself brushing my teeth and just staring into the mirror, not recognizing the person staring back. I'd wash dishes and feel nothing. I'd lie in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, feeling this profound, hollow silence. I mistook this numbness for peace. For control. I thought, this is what adult life is. You trade excitement for stability. You trade passion for predictability. And for a while, that numbness felt like a kind of freedom, the freedom from disappointment, from risk, from feeling too much. It wasn't until much later that I realized it wasn't freedom at all. It was a cage, a very comfortable one, built from the inside out. One night, something snapped. It was a Tuesday, I think. Nothing special happened. It was just another quiet evening, the city lights glowing softly outside my window. I was sitting at my desk, surrounded by paperwork that felt utterly meaningless. The glow of my laptop screen illuminated my face, and in that light, I saw a stranger again. A person who had traded away his dreams for a spreadsheet. And in that moment, a desperate kind of confidence surged through me. It was the kind of confidence born not from strength, but from the terror of staying the same. I opened a new document and started typing. A resignation letter. My hands were shaking, but my mind was clear. I was done. I was quitting the job, leaving the routine, starting fresh. I was going to rebuild everything from zero. It felt heroic. It felt like taking back control of my narrative. When I told my friends and family, their reactions were mixed, but the prevailing sentiment was admiration. Well, that's so brave. Man, that's a smart move. Better to do it now while you're young. And I soaked it all in. I believed them. I needed to believe them. Because believing it was a smart move was so much easier than admitting the truth, I wasn't taking control. I was running away. I was running from the emptiness, from the person I had become, from the silent, gnawing question of whether this was all my life was ever going to be. The first few weeks were pure bliss. I woke up not to an alarm clock, but to the sun streaming through my window. The freedom tasted new and intoxicating. Time, which had once been partitioned into billable hours and deadlines, now felt infinite and open. I'd walk through the city streets at dawn, when the world was still quiet, feeling like the main character in my own movie. I filled notebooks with grand plans, with business ideas, with sketches and dreams that had been dormant for years. I took road trips with no destination in mind, just the open road and a sense of possibility. It was everything I had imagined. The colors of the world seemed brighter, they are fresher. This, I told myself, is what it means to be alive. But freedom without direction isn't freedom. It's just drifting. And drifting isn't living, it's a slow, quiet drowning. The initial euphoria began to wear off, replaced by a subtle, creeping anxiety. The open days started to feel less like opportunities and more like empty voids I had to fill. The optimism started to feel like a performance. Then, the cracks started to appear. They were small at first, almost unnoticeable. A bank notification showing my savings account shrinking faster than I'd planned. A project I was excited about suddenly feeling overwhelming and pointless. The initial burst of motivation began to fade, replaced by a persistent lethargy. The silence of my apartment, once a symbol of peace, started to feel like profound loneliness. I'd scroll through social media, seeing my old colleagues on their career paths, and a bitter envy I didn't want to acknowledge would rise in my throat. I became a master of deception, especially to myself. Every morning, I'd look in the mirror and fake a confident smile. I'd post optimistic updates about my new journey. I'd tell friends who called that everything was going great, just finding my footing. But every night, alone in the dark, with only the glow of my computer screen for company, I felt myself slipping. The weight on my shoulders felt heavier each day. The grand plans in my notebooks now seemed like the naive scribbles of a child. I was trapped in the freedom I had so desperately craved. The breaking point came on a rainy Tuesday night, exactly 1 year after I'd made the decision to quit. I was sitting in a dim, late-night cafe, the kind of place you go when you don't want to go home. The rain was slamming against the windows, and the occasional flicker of lightning would illuminate my face. My coffee was cold. I hadn't touched it. I was just staring out into the storm, feeling a storm of my own brewing inside. A friend had agreed to meet me. He'd been worried. He sat down across from me, and for a few minutes, we just sat in silence, listening to the rain. Then he looked at me, his gaze serious and unwavering, and said something that shattered the illusion I had so carefully constructed. He said, "You didn't make a smart decision. You made a dramatic escape. And you called it smart so you could sleep at night." The words hung in the air between us. Everything froze. I could feel the truth of it landing like a physical blow. It wasn't an accusation, it was a diagnosis. The trembling of my hand made the water in the glass on the table ripple. In that moment, I finally understood. Quitting my job, chasing this vague idea of freedom, that wasn't the mistake. Everyone makes choices that don't pan out. The mistake, the real, soul-crushing mistake, was the lie I told myself about it. The lie that it was a strategic, intelligent move, when in reality, it was a panicked flight from myself. For the first time in a year, I stopped running. I stopped pretending. I went home and just sat with the failure. I let myself feel the shame, the fear, the crushing disappointment. I sat with the ghost I had tried to escape, the numb, empty version of myself I had abandoned back in that clean, minimalist apartment. It was excruciating. It was also the beginning of healing. We always think that when our lives fall apart, we need to rebuild our lives. We need a new plan, a new city, a new job. But most of us don't need to rebuild our lives. We need to rebuild ourselves. So that's what I started doing. Not with grand gestures, but with small, quiet actions. I cleaned my messy space. I organized the scattered papers and half-finished projects. I started a simple routine, not one of obligation, but one of intention. Waking up, making my bed, going for a walk. I started being honest with my friends, and more importantly, with myself. I admitted I was lost. I admitted I was scared. I admitted I had failed. And in that admission, I found a strength I never knew I had. Now, I'm back in that same cafe. The storm has passed. The rain has stopped. The morning light is starting to filter through the windows. I lift the cup of coffee, and this time, it's warm. I take a gentle sip. There's no grand plan. No heroic narrative. My bank account is still recovering. My future is still uncertain. But for the first time in a very long time, my eyes are calm. The internal storm is over. I thought the smartest decision was the one that leads to success, the one that everyone applauds. But now I know the truth. The smartest decision isn't the one that fixes your life. It's the one that forces you to face who you truly are, even if it has to break you first. Because some mistakes don't ruin us. They reveal us. And in that revelation, we can finally, truly begin to rebuild. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, let me know in the comments. And if you're going through your own storm, just know you're not alone. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about finding our way. See you in the next one.